I'm Magdalena Zolkos. I'm a political theorist and I work across three fields. So the first field is historical justice, and I'm specifically interested in thinking about justice beyond or outside this sort of narrow but dominant juridical liberal notion of justice. The other field is politics of memory and how, the way people remember, even though it's such a naturalistic way of thinking about it, the way we kind of make sense of the past, it's always already political. And the third one is politics of transitional justice and politics of memorialization. And it's actually quite a complex relationship between the subjective experience of violence and those collective pursuits of justice. What has been, I think, quite distinct about the way that I have tackled all these three fields is that I've taken a dual approach and not so much sort of parallel, but try to put them in conversation with one another. On the one hand, the political institutional analysis of collective attempts to do justice for the past. And then the other one is this sort of subjective affective dimension of how victimization is experienced or how witnessing is experienced and made sense of. From a disciplinary point of view, the first pursuit, the sort of political institutional analysis of things like trials, post-conflict resolution, or apologies, this is done from a political sociological perspective, whereas interest in subjective experience, things like confessional literature, testimonies, this is more cultural studies and literature. I think the distinctive marker of my research has been to pursue these two, but also to create like a dialectical space so they reciprocally get to reflect on one another. Recently, I've developed more interest in the non-human aspects of thinking about public memory and specifically drawing on social theory of material objects and object relations of memory, which has taken me into two different projects, one of them being a critique of humanitarian politics of post-conflict reconstruction, an attempt of rethinking of what dispossession means, of what material loss means, and what it means to do justice for expropriation. And another project being a little kind of a different project, but the same premise, which is a project on politics of memorialization, specifically memorial architecture, memorial art, an attempt to think about objects as agents of memory. So in what sense and how object becomes part of those memorial relationships, larger complexes or assemblages that involve both humans but also non-humans, animate and inanimate, in how public memory is constituted. I think the importance and innovativeness of my work lies not only in the ability to sort of tackle the complexity and difficulty surrounding the questions of doing justice for the past and public memorialization, but I think specifically in this scholarly gesture to reclaim the space of the subjective, but also, I guess, the space of the poetic, and bring them in the conversation of historical justice. The question of violent past or unjust past that sort of remains in the present, that keeps sort of haunting the present, that is in some ways unresolved. I think these are some of the key challenges. This is one of the key questions of our time.